Hello everyone, this is my recording for my lesson plan 2. So my lesson plan 2 is a continuation actually of my lesson plan 1. So the overall theme has been ancient civilizations from the 3rd grade standard of the Virginia SOLs. And my first lesson actually was about democracy in ancient Greece and Rome and a little bit about the science. And so something I would have done to transition out of that day and prep for the lesson 2 is I would have asked the kids if they remembered the picture on the first slide. And that's the Parthenon, and I would tell the kids that the next day we're studying ancient Greek and Roman architecture. And so a little exit ticket is I would have showed them a graphic visual of a Roman house, and they could have written down any similarity or differences that they see from their house today. So this would have been lesson plan number 2, which is about architecture. So the themes I chose was time, continuity, and change. And I think the big thing I would want the kids to understand that a lot of these architectural designs, like the arches and the domes and the columns that the ancient Greeks and Romans used, is still influence modern society today. A lot of buildings in Washington, D.C., like the Capitol and everything, are influenced by this type of design. And the second one was science, technology, and society. I think the ancient Romans were such an innovative society, and they had the things like the aqueducts, which brought water from the mountain areas down to the city. And they weren't the ones to invent concrete, but they started using concrete on a mass scale to build giant buildings like the Colosseum. So these were my standards I would have used for this lesson is the Virginia SOL standards. For social studies, the students will demonstrate skills for historical thinking, geographical analysis, and economic decision making, and responsible citizen by identifying artifacts and primary and secondary sources to understand events and world cultures. So we're going to get to my primary source in a second. The students will explain how the contributions of ancient Greece and Rome have influenced the present world in terms of architecture, government, and sports. So obviously that's today's lesson, is to talk about architecture and how we still use that influence today. And the students will describe how people in ancient world adapted to their environment. So kind of like I just mentioned about the aqueducts, that's a really cool adaptation. Also, in art, the students can examine the relationship between the form and function of artifacts of a culture. Language arts, the students will demonstrate comprehension of information to research a topic and research a product. And then science, the students will demonstrate an understanding of scientific and engineering practices. So learning for justice standards is I want to know more about other people's lives and experiences, and I know how to ask questions respectfully and listen carefully and non-judgmentally. So I chose this one because I think sometimes students can think how crazy it is how people lived back then, but I think it's a really important lesson to show how we got here today. So my book would have been The Explorer Ancient Rome. So this book is really neat, and I have this account on Epic that actually allows me to see all these books for a small fee. And so right here it talks about the aqueducts, cool artifacts, it talks about the roads. It mentions how the archways, how a lot of aqueducts had archways that supported them, but now they're used as a beautiful reminder. So we would read that book, and I would have the kids also read that book. This is my primary source. So this is a site plan for the Ancient Roman Forum, which was created in the 1st century. And I would use this resource because I know kids learn a lot about maps and everything, so I think it'd be cool to explain to the kids how back then people had to look at roads, they had to look at waterways, and they mapped a city around that because back then it was so crucial to put the city and everything in a smart place because you needed to buy resources because there was no Amazon to ship you water bottles or anything like that that you may need. So I think something like that would have been cool, and still today city planners have to map around these type of things. So the steps I would have taken is after introducing the lesson, I would have read the book with the students, looked at my primary source, and then step 3, explore different types of Roman and Greek and Roman architecture, so the arches, domes, and columns, which we use in the U.S. today, important structures like the Colosseum and Parthenon, new advancements in technology and tools, how I mentioned how they didn't create concrete, but they used it a lot in the aqueducts. And then something really cool is I actually went to Rome in 2019, so I would show the kids some of these cool pictures, like this is me at the Forum. This is one of the domes that was created that we actually see in the U.S. Capitol. That's the top of the Capitol. And then this is so cool. So that first picture is a water fountain. And this water is actually brought by an aqueduct that's still in use from the mountain. So when I drank from that mountain, I think that'd be so cool to share with the students. Once again, me at the forum and the dome. And for the assessment, I thought a cool thing for the students would be to become a Roman architect for the day. And it would be their job to model one of the different features in Play-Doh, so either an arch, column, or a dome, and they would write a paragraph to describe to the citizens of Rome why they should be using this. And then lastly, my technology for this lesson is a really cool Excavate Rome activity where students can use different tools and dig up different artifacts, and it'll actually explain the tools and the artifacts to the students. And so I just thought that'd be a fun way to wrap up the lesson. Thank you.